Hi everyone, welcome to Still Only 35 Cents. This is the Merry Monday Mailcall show. I hope you are all well. Well, it's been a week. It's been a crazy week, but it's been a week, and hence the reason why we're sharing today Eagle Comics. Very fondly remembered. My latest video featuring Eagle Comics, DOOMLORD, went very well. And so I thought we would dig in today and a few of those DOOMLORD stories with some of our new subscribers. As mentioned, it went a little bit crazy. So we were aiming for our 4,000 subscriber milestone. But as you can see here, we are now at 5,650. So yes, we've jumped probably almost 2,000 subscribers in the last with just one video. So I want to thank everybody who has subscribed, because it is very humbling and very interesting to see all of the nostalgia that came with it, which was fantastic. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to do this show today. So let's see who we have in the chat. Yes, I believe the video will be a little choppy. The internet is a bit up and down here this morning, so we may end up calling this one short, unfortunately, and may redo Tuesday morning and make it a Merry Tuesday mail call show if I can fix the internet. But yeah, not great that it's choppy. So we have Patel here. Hi, Patel. Video is tad choppy, mate. Yes, yes, as I mentioned. For some reason, the internet is playing up this morning, so it's off of Wi-Fi. So good to see you. Welcome to the show. Since we last spoke, I picked up an FF5 and a Daredevil 1. Patel, fantastic stuff. We have to get you on the show at some point with your new book. So I had a great pickup this weekend as well. That'll be coming to a future video. I went to the Malvern Town Hall Vintage Comic Toy Fair. And really enjoyed myself there. So great. But yeah, as I said, I did want to thank everybody for subscribing, new subscribers. It's great to have you with us. I hope you enjoyed the latest video, which is on Judge Death. There'll be a lot more UK content coming very, very soon. We will be giving away that fantastic 4209. And I need to put my head down and think about how I'm going to be doing the 5,000 subscribers. But we're well on our way to 6,000 subscribers now. So thank you all very much. So with that, I will switch to the overhead camera view and give you a glimpse of some of this Eagle goodness. And we'll just go through some random books and cover off some of the strips, because I think some of the feedback from everyone was that DOOMLORD was great, but they had fond memories of some of the other strips. And I thought it'd be good to share those with some of the viewers as well who've never seen Eagle comic before anyway. So I thought we'd give her a bit of a start. So this is the first issue. So this was relaunched in 1982. And essentially they had come back in. They were trying to relaunch Dan Dare. And then I also wanted to tell these new photo stories, with the idea being that they would be able to essentially cut costs and get some more interesting stories in play. So that was the big difference. So Dan Dare was not a photo strip. That was traditionally drawn, but these photo strips were sort of in there. So if you turn open here, you'll get your editorial page, which is classically English of the time. And there is your first DOOMLORD story. So this is that first page of Howard Harvey and Bob Merton coming across DOOMLORD, and the meteorite coming down to the earth. And there in all its glory is where DOOMLORD gets Bob Merton, takes him over, and Howard Harvey manages to escape. But I mean, this was pretty creepy stuff at the time. And as I say, a great little launch story to carry you over. Very creepy stuff. But there you can see here photo cover, and again photo strips, and then they had a whole bunch of different advertisements, but it was mostly all these Fumetti photo strips. So you got Thunderbolt and Smokey, about two footballer kids at school. It's a bit more Grange Hilly in terms of that. Grange Hill was a kids TV show based in a school. Sgt Streetwise. And again, look at this. I mean, you know, interesting stuff. I wasn't really like, the only story that really stuck with me was the aforementioned Doomlord. Like, if there was any one of these that I read, it was Doomlord. Maybe Dan Dare. And speaking of Dan Dare, this is where it gets interesting, because Barry Tomlinson, who was the editor-in-chief at the time, was clearly writing this. So it's obviously his passion project. And then the artist is Jerry Embleton. But the artwork on this, I mean, the question is it a bit of a... Feels like with all the photo strips, they're trying to save money or reduce cost. And then they have like 3 panels of art, or 3 panels of traditional art, as opposed to... There's a bit of a weird juxtaposition having the 2 in there. So I do find it fascinating that they did have some art. And the artwork on these is pretty phenomenal. As I say, look at that, like the Mekon flowing out. It's just interesting to see that juxtaposition next to the art. More Sgt Streetwise here. And there's the Tower King. Now, Tower King, again, that was another one that a lot of people were saying to me. I can't remember reading this, to be honest. But the Tower King, let's read up. The solar power satellite was the most important result of the American space program in the 1980s. A vast array of solar panels have been placed in stationary orbit above the equator. Roger will activate the microwave system now. Solar energy converted from the sun, converted into microwaves and beamed down to a huge receiving station on the ground, where the microwaves are converted into electrical power and fed into the grid. Microwave reception is A-OK, switching power into flow. It should have been the start of a new era. And the first electric power from the sun is flowing into the grid. Never again will we face energy. Instead, it was the beginning of the disaster. The microwaves had disrupted the Earth's atmosphere, making the generation of the balance of Earth's atmosphere, making the generation of electricity in any form impossible. Without it, aircraft fell out of the sky. Ships drifted helplessly. The road traffic ground to a halt. Nuclear power stations melted down. Without electricity, there was no radio, TV, telephones, no form of transport. There was no heat or light in the days that followed. Bring out the dead. So interesting. The Tower King is post-apocalyptic fantasy where there's no electricity. So fascinating, through London. So I may have to go back and dig through that one. Great start to that. And then we've got the Collector. Now, I enjoyed the Collector. I do remember reading the Collector. The Collector was essentially very similar to the Crypt Keeper, that type of thing. And he would tell these stories about these little items, and basically it'd be a story that was like a House of Mystery, Tales of Suspense, that type of thing. This one was particularly interesting. I am the Collector. Some of my exhibits may seem a little out of ordinary to you, but then so too are the reasons why I keep them. There is a reason for every object being here. For example, this beauty is the eye of a fish. It reminds me that there is always one more way of looking at things, as you will see for yourself. The eye of fish. So Dad and his fish go fishing. No fishing beyond this point. So they fish in the spot that they're not supposed to fish. Concentrating here. What a tiddler. Throw it back in. It's getting dark. I don't fancy getting caught in that. We'll shut up shop and head back to the car. And then they're beamed away. Almost silent. Then they find themselves in this weird, and this is what I love about this, they're taken into, they're catched by these aliens and brought to an alien craft, and it's photo stories with art. So they did mix it up as well in some points, and that was an interesting one to do that. So there you have it. There is issue one. Issue one. Let me just check the comments. But yeah, great to see. So, second best Bob. Let's have a chat. Let's see. This is so my time in England. I remember hating the photo story format. So I never got past issue one. It reminded me of my sister's Jackie comic full of photo op stories about teenage love. Not that I read it. I must admit that I think these are, I mean, going through and rereading the stories, it's been a lot of fun and seeing them. And as I say, there's some interesting strips in here. It's not your average British comic, which I always found the most interesting thing about this. It was always brand new, very interesting chance to sort of do it. And you could see that from the idea that he was trying to get. I mean, here's your free badge. Look at that. Issue 2 is the one you want, folks, because of I didn't keep my space spinner, but I always wanted my eagle badge, which is life size considered to Lego. So as you can see here, there's another one of these classic UK free gifts that you get, and it's a nice little badge, which is pride of place there. Let's just turn this over. That mask just sticks with you. And I love this one here where you see the little digital watch back in the day. Doomlord's death ring over here. So there's your Doomlord, and then you get, if you give me 1 minute, give me 1 second, folks. I'm going to grab something for you. I hope you enjoyed that quick interlude and enjoyed reading the adventures of Fred whilst I was away. And then, so Adventures of Fred: do not post litter, do not feed the birds, to keep off the grass, wet paint. So there you have it. There's also the collector with the assassin this time. And great stuff here in terms of more Mekon pieces. Sgt Streetwise and the Tower King. So you get usual stuff. Thunderbolt and Smokey. And interesting, I mean, again, it was a weird mix of usual sort of photo strips with combined sort of celebrities, sports people, you name it. But this is fascinating as well. I love this. All the sub-editors on the front page being attacked by Doomlord. But as I say, I've got a heap of these with me, and I'll just take you through them one by one so you get a sense. This is early on. So again, you get more of this sports stuff. So 400 whist copters to be won with a cover of, what's his name now? I forget. Daley Thompson. There you go. So there's Daley Thompson. Then we get more Eagle here with the Mekon Dandare heads for Mekon Earth. No new strips at this point, so you're still getting the standard strips that came at the beginning, the collector, etc. There's your Sgt Streetwise. So it was always, a bit like 2000 AD, but not like 2000 AD, which is why it becomes quite interesting when it does finally change over to text. Nice big Mekon poster there. There's Bad Manners in the corner there. Bit more, as I say, it was very sort of its time English, like red arrows here as well. So that's a fascinating one. More of the Tower King. Nice shot of Doomlord there beside a grave. But again, still nothing new at this point in terms of the storylines. This one was always one of my favorite covers for the simple fact that you do get to see Doomlord essentially transferring into that NATO general there. And a great little cover, that one. Always like that one. And there we've got Big Daddy, the great wrestling hero in the UK. More Dan Dare here, featuring on the cover here. Very classic pose there from Dan Dare. Then you've got Thunderbolt and Smokey still going. Dan Dare, Prophets of Doom. So you've still got the same characters in. Great new story in this one, though. So we'll take this one out. So for this one, we've got Thunderbolt and Smokey, which is obviously from the front. And again, it didn't sort of suck me in, that one. Obviously, we got Doomlord. Always want to read Doomlord. But they did have a new story in this one. There's Dan Dare, The Return of the Mekon. Joe Soap, Private Detective, which looks a little bit like David Prowse. And look, there's my little free inclusion. But Joe Soap was a private detective. So again, that one I do seem to remember Joe Soap. So enjoying seeing that one. And then the Tower King and the Collector in Prophets of Doom. So they did keep coming up with new ideas. You would have thought, though, a brand new story would have got a bit more. Oh, that's not good. Would have got a bit more attention on the front cover. Instead of some kid bullying some other kid on the front. There's another one there. So there's your Joe Soap. Doesn't look like David Prowse in the end, but pretty familiar. Nice shot of Doomlord there. And obviously the Tower King on the front page. And then it skips a little bit in terms of the books that I've got. So then that's the last issue where you see Doomlord. And then this powerful cover. I'll take this one out so you can see it better. Look at that cover to Doomlord 2. And what I really like about it as well, you get to see some more of these new stories, like the Western story, Saddle Tramp here. Doomlord 2 starts with this great color spread. So that in itself is something that is very... I love the fact that we finally got color for Doomlord. I've toyed with the idea going back and sort of taking these panels and using colouring them in, because I think they would make for fascinating. That when you see this, you suddenly realise that would have looked even more awe-inspiring in full colour as well. So that is great. Does the photo story stuff look a little bit like Mark Steer's current stuff? No. The photo stuff is much more like it's proper photos. Mark Spear's stuff is 3D rendered, is my understanding. So yes, yes, I think that's the difference. The Mark Spear stuff is 3D rendered. So there you have it. There's another. Let's have a quick look because they've changed the stories here. Thunderbolt and Smokey's still going. Dan Dare and the Mekon. This is now written by Pat Mills and John Wagner, with art by Ian Kennedy. And I think this is Eagle and Smokey still. The Tower King. Nice speed profile. And then Joe Soap. So there is a couple. There's a story coming soon in this that I did want to share with you, which again is another one of the interesting. Joe Soap. There we got another great cover with Dan Dare and the Mekon there. But I think this is the one that everyone was calling out. That and Tower King. Manix. Secret. He's the ultimate, most dangerous man in the world. Amazing spy photo story starts today. And there is our lovely Doomlord, transforming from a woman in this one, which is fascinating to see. And that does look like our friend Howard Harvey. So he's obviously finding out the secret of Howard Harvey here. Let me just turn to this, and here it is, the most dangerous man in the world, Manix. Let's put this across so you can see it very clearly. The most dangerous man in the world, Manix. There he is with his bionic powers and what looks like a shuriken type device. But they had some interesting special effects with him throughout this, as you can see, with his little circuitry eye there. But it's fascinating stuff. Thunderbolt and Smokey's there. Great Stan Dare art, and the Tower King art by Ortez there. So as you can see, it was pretty fun in terms of the story. Saddle Tramp, I'm not sure how that one would ever work. Interesting to include that. House of Daemon, that was another one that was brand new. So obviously they were changing the stories up at this point. Unfortunately, the collector had disappeared at this point. There were no more the collector stories. So you have Manix in here with his singular shot where he's looking forward, which seems to be the one they keep repeating and reusing. But basically, reminds me of the Terminator. But interesting stuff to see that. And there's this Manix lifting a bus, but very much a robot in that. So we find that quite amusing. Saddle Tramp. And let's see. There's the return, down there, Return of the Mekon. And here is your new story, The House of Daemon, or Daemon. But again, scary, scary stuff. And that, if I think, replaced your Tower King story. Because I think, yeah, Ortez then took on this. So this is a new story post the Tower King, House of Daemon. So again, there was no shortage of great stories that they kept bringing to them. And again, you got to think of the talent at the time that were doing the whole Eagle magazine at the time. So let's just go through these. More Thunderbolt and Smokey. Sgt Streetwise returns. The return of Sgt Streetwise, who looks like the Manix character. They had another brand new story, The Invisible Boy. We'll have a quick look at this. This one did make me laugh. The Invisible Boy, which starts off a little bit like Karate Kid, but then he gets into a science. Maybe he should go into scientific research and finds himself invisible. How I find this hilarious is that they did turn him into a negative when he switches and becomes invisible or blurs his photo. And then they show basically photos of nothing with the occasional thing floating in the air, like an egg or a can that they've obviously superimposed. So that's why I like that strip. Very, very interesting stuff indeed. Let me just bring this up. Where are we at today? 8:03. I'm going for almost half an hour. Got to go to bed. Early to work tomorrow. Cheers all. Great to see you, second best Bob. Got more Mekon art there. You would have seen this from the thumbnail. And as you can see, the stories are continuing. So Manix, Dare. I like this one. The Invisible Boy has nothing in it. House of Daemon, sorry. And of course, Doomlord judging the earth. But the sad thing about Eagle is, and the collector does return. So as you can see here, the story sort of switched in and out. And here you see My move, you die. This is another collector story. Interestingly, the horror continues in this as we have a Jimmy Savile personality review. Jim will fix it. Eagle interview. Oh dear me, that's a little bit crazy. Invisible Boy. Let's have a look at our collector strip. The collector Knight versus King, and a little bit drawn at the end. Fascinating stuff. Yes. And that was the end. That issue was the end of Doomlord number 3, I think, from memory. But so Eagle, what's interesting then is when it gets to. So I'd almost argue this is your volume 2, but it's when it goes to this format. So that's volume. This is still volume 2, so you still have, mostly photo story covers, etc. Sgt Streetwise in his wetsuit there. Doomlord warning the planet. Great cover, that one. Love that cover. There, more of the same photo cover stuff. Eagle story, your dad, an original Eagle story your dad read. So they're reprinting old stories there. The Invisible Boy, one of those floating bottles that we talked about. Now, this is the last issue of Doomlord, Doomlord 2. So this is that volume 2 of Doomlord photo strip. And then they switched to this almost like a soft relaunch, where they recut, and it started to be a little bit more less photo strip and more comic book. And you can see this style as it starts to happen. So again, first things first, you get Scorpio, that brand new 3D strip. So they still kept some photo stories. So Doomlord was in there. But then you'd increasingly start to see these 3D or artwork stories, traditional artwork stories, coming to life. So we've got the Fifth Horseman, another new story. Again, drawn. More 3D. Dan Dare, drawn. So there's only one photo strip thus far. Then we've got the Manix. He's back with a different Manix this time. And then Crow Street Comp, new story, artwork. A 3D picture of Man United. Fantastic stuff. And then Jake's Platoon in photo story. So a really interesting half and half split in terms of this. Now, what becomes interesting is that the book then primarily features strip-like pages rather than it being. So it's already starting to transition from photo at this point, because as you can see, every cover is almost the start of a Dan Dare strip. So throughout this whole period, every single issue had a Dan Dare strip on the front to start the story off. So very reminiscent of the old Eagle, and beautifully drawn by Kennedy. I mean, absolutely stunning stuff. So not sure if this worked. Always like a big cover, so they have a big splash with a couple of story panels to sort of drag you in. But you can see some of this really good, amazing art here. And so they've designed the strip on the front just to be able to drag you in. But you can see there's some stunning artwork here. Really, really enjoying checking this up. Ryan's here. How are you? I have comic issues. Great to see you. Welcome to the show. I'm doing okay. Not too bad at all. Hay fever is getting me down, but other than that, all good. Great to see you, sir. As you can see, look at this cover. Like this one in particular is fantastic. With the spacecraft, the space shuttles flying towards, but it's just beautiful stuff. And again, more of the same. There's a bit of glare here, unfortunately, but you get a sense of just how good these covers were. And I do love the way, let's just take this out to show you some of the artwork. Again, look at that. Great front cover, but it also tells a story too. So yeah, they did make this transition across at this point, which is very, very interesting stuff. And again, you literally are getting down there covers. This one's a good cover. Duran Duran, a chat with Britain's best band. Look at that. But interesting, beautiful sort of just artwork here with these bubbles flowing out. Doomlord captured. I love that you go to the middle page and you still get, there is continued on the center spread. Here we are. So you get like 3 stories and some photo aspects too, which is interesting. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So there's that. Few more covers here for you. Again, look at the artwork on that one. Very, very stylistic. And it's some cross between a photo, special effects one there, which is great. More very, very reminiscent of the early Eagle in terms of the style here. Great to see that they do that. House of Correction, brand new story. Look at that Eagle. The Jewel of the Doomlord, the last but one story of Doomlord 3 there in the photo strip. And there's your last issue of Doomlord in photo strip form. Let's have a quick look at that. There it is, the end, the battle between Vec and Zom. And the moment that he swears himself as the protector of Earth. Now, that wasn't the end of Doomlord. So, one of the things I did want to share with you all is this one. So, I do have a few. This is the format that then Eagle transferred into, which is something that most of you who've read 2000 AD will be used to. So this traditional sort of square type format that they've used for 2000 AD over the years. And they continued the story. So you can see you've got your Manix here, which again was a photo story back in the day. So that made obviously the Eagle kept going at this point. So Manix is still running, which is great. The Fists of Danny Pike, again, all drawn, photo drawn. Doomlord was here, all powerful alien marooned on Earth. So they used his Doomlord photos and just used that for the logo. But Eric Plumrose is still around and is, essentially still Doomlord still attacking folk. But all of this was then drawn and hand-drawn. Dandare continued. But again, they didn't have as much. It was very much black and white, very similar to 2000 AD in terms of its style and the stories. So it's always good to sort of flick through these. I do love checking them out. Presented with Eagle, we've got this target simulator, which is a free gift. So I'd obviously have to use my potato gun that was free to go with it. But But yeah, I don't have the second issue. And it's interesting that they never put issue numbers on these. So you'll notice that every single one is just driven by a date. So it's interesting to see that they only ever use dates on this. Whereas at least with 2000 AD, you got to see there was a prog number. But the artwork, and again, I've really come to I love the artwork on these, and the again, there was some wealth of talent out there in the UK, and all of these. You got to think that we were manufacturing our own stories, and there were a whole bunch of artists that are sort of classic that I remember back in the day that would never really made it across the Atlantic to sort of the standard Marvel comics, but lots of sort of great UK artists. Look at that. Love that. Incredible. Chewbacca, Return of the Jedi Bandolier action figure special offer. Never understand how that thing would actually hold your figures in place. Pretty crazy stuff. And then Doomlord and the hand. And there's our second part of our Spud Gun targeting game. So yeah, this is a fantastic free gift issue. You don't get a free gift in that. You just get the second part of the poster. Got another space spinner here. So this is October. So that one was October. So they're still giving away free gifts at this point. And the space spinner, of all things, is still being utilized. So you can see here, it's a very UK-centric magazine. And this ran... I bought these until this must be let's show you this. So these from memory are the Tim ads. So there we have Manix, the Hitler file, interesting. Walk or Die, One-Eyed Jack, and Dandare. And do we have Doomlord? Yes, we do. No, but I thought these were actually... They are featured in Dandare. Horrifying looking creatures. The Blooded Daughter. So there you have it. There's some Eagles for you. I just wanted to share those with you. It's been a very interesting week. Thank you all so much for joining today. It's been absolutely fun going through these once again. We probably won't be joining next week. Let me just bring the screen back up. Yes, probably won't be joining you all next week as it's Comics Curing Cancer. And so I was thinking I may reschedule the Merry Monday Mailcall show to another time just to so it doesn't clash with that. If you haven't already, please check out Comics Curing Cancer, a great cause, and we'd love to have you join us and bid on some books. So that will be happening all next weekend. So we'd love to have you join and be part of those various shows over the 3 days. And with that, I'm going to head off, and I will see you all next time. Take care of yourselves.